Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're covering the new SSR Hunter Liu Zhigang, the first Burster class hunter. He's a fire damage dealer built around a brand new mechanic called a burst skill, and his entire gameplay loop is designed around overload windows, transformation timing, and stacking a special damage over time effect called wildfire. In this video, I'll break down how his kit works, what actually increases his burst damage, the key advancement breakpoints, a simple rotation you can follow, and what you should know for boss-focused content like Guild Boss. Let's start with the one thing that makes Liu different, the burst skill. Liu has a burst skill called Veiled Intent. It activates after an overload window ends, and when you use it, it deals burst damage based on what you accumulated during the accumulation period. The most important rule is this: all your buffs, debuffs, and setup need to be active during the accumulation period, not after. Tests show that applying multipliers after the damage is already accumulated doesn't increase the burst result, so your setup timing matters more than usual. Now, how does Liu's core loop actually work? He's basically a standard DPS at baseline, but his passive gives him two special states: Insight and Unrivaled. When you use Basic Skill 1 and Basic Skill 2, you gain stacks of Insight, and when Insight reaches its full stacks, it triggers your ultimate transformation called Fire Dragon Ascension. While Insight is active, you have Super Armor, and it stacks up to a cap. When Fire Dragon Ascension is used, Insight is removed, and you enter Unrivaled. Unrivaled is a massive self-buff. It increases attack, increases defense penetration, grants super armor, and it also resets and removes the cooldown of your two basic skills. In short, Unrivaled turns Liu into a spam machine for a short, high-value window. And when the Dragon Soul effect ends, the Unrivaled effects disappear. Now we need to explain Dragon Soul, because this is where his kit becomes unique. When you use your ultimate, Fire Dragon Ascension activates Dragon Soul, and during Dragon Soul, your core attack becomes an upgraded version and counts like a basic skill. Your core attack, Basic Skill 1, and Basic Skill 2 become upgraded versions with much higher damage after you use each upgraded version once. It triggers Heavenly Twin Dragons one time, and then your skills revert back to normal after the loop finishes. This means Liu's damage is extremely tied to doing the correct sequence during the Dragon Soul window, because the upgraded skills and Heavenly Twin Dragons are a huge part of his total output. Now, the next key mechanic, Wildfire. Starting from Advancement 1, Liu gains mechanics that apply wildfire stacks to the target. Wildfire deals damage based on his attack every few seconds and can stack up to a high cap. More importantly, at Advancement 1, Liu also gains damage dealt increases tied to how many wildfire stacks are on the target. This turns his kit into a stacking, ramping DPS that becomes much stronger once the fight is stable and your rotation stays clean. Alright, now let's talk about the advancement breakpoints, because Liu is one of those units where the breakpoints matter a lot. Advancement 0. He functions, but he has a major problem. The ultimate loop and cooldown pacing can feel inconsistent, and you miss value every other rotation. Testing shows his damage is much lower at this point compared to higher investment. Advancement 1. This is the first huge jump. You get much better flow, more reliable access to the transformation, extra stacking value, and more damage scaling through Inferno Sovereign and Wildfire interactions. This is where his kit starts feeling real. Advancement 3. This improves stability a lot. When you transform, you gain a strong sustain package that restores HP, restores MP over time, and reduces damage taken. This also helps solve early MP issues, because Liu's kit can spam fast. Advancement 5. This is the massive power spike. Unrivaled becomes much stronger, Inferno Sovereign becomes stronger, and you gain an additional infinite buff called Void Mind after Heavenly Twin Dragons. Void Mind increases crit rate, increases fire overload damage, and increases basic skill damage. And it's a gigantic reason why high investment Liu looks completely different from low investment Liu. Tests from creators show the jump from Advancement 4 to Advancement 5 is enormous, and for many players, this becomes the true minimum point where he feels fully complete as a top DPS. Now, build and stats. Liu scales as an attack-based fire DPS, and because he is designed for high-level enemies, you need to pay attention to consistency stats. The most important stats are attack, critical hit rate, critical hit damage, and defense penetration. Defense penetration becomes extremely valuable for hard content, especially because Liu can stack it through his own passives at high advancement, and fire teams have additional sources of penetration depending on supports. For his exclusive weapon, Night Cleaver, the key passive increases attack and increases the critical hit rate of Heavenly Twin Dragons. That means your ultimate finisher becomes more consistent, but keep in mind this crit bonus is tied to that one part of his kit, not all of his damage. Now the rotation. I'll keep this simple and practical, using basic names. The clean approach is, first, set up Overload with your team. Then swap into Liu and use Basic Skill 1 and Basic Skill 2 to build Insight stacks. As soon as you can, use your ultimate transformation, then use your upgraded versions in a clean sequence so you trigger Heavenly Twin Dragons. After the Overload window ends, use the Burst skill. Then repeat. Creators also emphasize that his damage is much more consistent on manual control, because his kit wants to spam ultimate loops correctly, and auto can waste the timing. Now let's talk team strategy quickly. Liu performs best when your team can. Trigger Overload consistently. Keep the fight stable so you don't lose your transformation window. Provide penetration or damage amplification during the accumulation period for burst-in testing. Many creators pair him with core fire supports and overload enablers, and they treat Liu as the main carry that converts the overload window into a huge burst, plus burst skill payoff. So final verdict, summon or skip. If you care about fire teams and you want a top-end DPS for boss-focused content, Liu Zhigang is a summon. But the big warning is investment. At low advancement, he can feel underwhelming compared to the hype, because a large part of his performance is locked behind his key advancement breakpoints, especially the late-game spike. If you're not planning to build fire, or you can't commit resources to reach the breakpoints you need, then he becomes a much more situational pull. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.